everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Play On podcast. In this episode, me and Luke are going to have an in-depth look and predict the Munster Football Championship for 2021. Luke, this seems to be very similar to the Leinster Championship in that there is an obvious candidate to win, and that candidate is obviously Kerry. But it has the caveat of last year, Kerry didn't win the Munster Championship. They were knocked out straight away by Cork.
Yep, absolutely. I think that last year, was unbelievable, really. I don't think anybody thought that there was any chance that was going to happen. I don't think anyone kind of expected Tipperary, even like the loyalist Tipperary fans couldn't have expected last year. But yeah, absolutely. I think that lightning's not going to strike twice. Look at the league so far and kind of look how Kerry are going. And I think you're going to see Kerry kind of come back to their form and probably kind of teach a lesson to a few of the teams in Munster this year.
Yeah. So let's get into the predictions. The first game that Kerry have is they're playing against Clare on the 26th of June. And to be honest, I do think that there is a little window for causing Kerry problems there for Clare, and that's Darren O'Neill. The problems that he caused for Mayo when they moved him into full forward, this guy is an absolute giant of a man. Kerry wouldn't really have any obvious candidate to go back there and mark him. And I think that should be the approach that Clare take, is to put Darren O'Neill on the square and to just, have David Tubridy feeding off him and the likes of, Owen Cleary at centre forward. But I think no matter what they do, the likes of David Clifford will stand up, and I think this will be Kerry's game to win.
Yeah, absolutely. I think great campaign for Clare again. But look, they're a Division 2 side, and Kerry are probably up there as the only real contenders to Dublin this year. So yeah, I fully expect, after kind of a brave enough performance from Clare, where the likes of the lads up front, Owen Cleary, Keelan Sexton, David Tubridy, kind of kick a few nice scores, but I do think the Kerry are going to beat them by about 10 in the end.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that I'm going to go with about a 7-point win for Kerry. I think they've too much quality in the tank for Clare. But the other quarterfinal, I think it's another game where, the winner picks itself. Limerick against Waterford, but I think Limerick's footballers have just come on leaps and bounds since Billy Lee has taken the helm. They nearly got promotion. They didn't lose by too much to, one of the most informed teams in the country in Derry. They lost by 4 points. They've, exceptional footballers, the likes of, Danny Neville, the likes of Ian Corbett. And I think Limerick are going to beat Waterford quite convincingly, I'm going to say, by about 5 to 10 points.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's probably fair enough based on kind of the form so far. Like, I think Ian Corbett is absolutely super player for Limerick as well. And yeah, I think you're right there.
Yeah. So if we got those predictions right, then the Munster semi-finals would be the Munster champions Tipperary would play against Kerry, and Cork would play against Limerick. So we're going to start with the Munster champions Tipperary against Kerry. And I think that me saying the Munster champions Tipperary, I think that will be the last time that we'll say it this year for quite a long time. I think Kerry are going to beat Tipperary out the gate as almost kind of a bit of revenge for, taking their Munster crown away from them last year. I think the form that Tipperary are in, getting relegated to Division 4, is absolutely shocking. And yeah, I think Kerry are going to do some awful things to that Tipperary defence, especially with the form that the likes of David Clifford are in right now.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think that's exactly what's going to happen. And yeah, I think you're going to see much more rootless Kerry this year. And I think they're going to, in playing in the middle of summer, there won't be any of this winter football like we saw in the Cork game last year. And yeah, they're going to win.
The other semi-final, though, I actually find this fascinating, this game. I think this is really hard to call. Cork against Limerick.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is really, really difficult one to call. And I probably, just for the sake of a shock, I'm going to go with Limerick to overturn Cork. I think they definitely have the capacity to do it. And I think they're a really well organised team. And I thought Cork have been kind of a bit up and down so far this year. So yeah, I think just for the sake of variety, I'm going to go with Limerick to win this one.
Yeah, I'm actually going to agree with you there. I think that Limerick are moving very, very well. They nearly beat Tipperary, of course, in last year's Munster Championship. It was only Conor Sweeney's sideline that kept Tipperary in the Munster Championship. And yeah, I think that Limerick, they came back this year in the league and they beat Tipperary. They showed the quality that they have, and they only went down to Derry by a couple of points, as I said. And I imagine that they'll beat Waterford comfortable enough. They'll have a lot of momentum going in against the Cork team, who are missing Cathal O'Mahony through injury, and it's a Cork team as well that you never know what you're going to get with them. So I wouldn't be surprised if Limerick win. I also equally wouldn't be surprised if Cork, put in a good performance and get the job done. But I'm going to go, as you said, for variety. I'm going to go with Limerick to win this game, which would set up for a Kerry versus Limerick Munster final, a Division 1 team against a Division 3 team. I think the winner picks itself.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. I think Kerry are going to win the Munster pretty comfortable this year.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I just think the forwards that they have they're too strong in every department. I think Kerry are just levels ahead of anyone in Munster. Everybody knows that even though they lost last year, they're still the best squad in Munster. And, as soon as I always looked at it, as soon as Kerry went out of the All Ireland Championship last year, it was Dublin's crown to lose. And yeah, I think Kerry are going to be, desperate to show that they're not, that last year was a once off and it will never happen again. I think something that a lot of people overlook about last year as well is the conditions that Cork beat them in. The weather was absolutely appalling. And I think, Cork only can beat Kerry if the game is in conditions like that, where the weather is awful and the rain is pouring down, and the game becomes much more of an absolute battle. Whereas if it's played on a sunny day and it's about skillful footballers and moving the ball quickly and getting it into the forwards, nobody in Munster can match Kerry.
Yep. Well, I think anyway. I think it's a great point with when you think about kind of when this championship is going to be played. It won't be like last year when like the monsoon and Perky Queeve, and yeah, nobody. I don't think anyone's getting close to Kerry once it's a wide open summer football, which we're gonna see. Like, look at the weather at the moment. Kind of, we're about 2 weeks. We're 1 week out from the start of the championship. So it's it's impossible to look past them right now.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, guys, so that's our preview of the Munster Football Championship done. We will come back with our preview of the Connacht Football Championship. Take care.